This is the piece that is new. In all of this conversation about deliberate creation, we've been encouraging you to focus your thoughts. Today, we're encouraging you to focus your thoughts still, but focus them around the subject of emotion. In other words, focus your thoughts on how you want to feel and leave it at that. Because we've been saying to you for a while that you have enough vibrational basis in your vortex of creation to keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes of manifestation.
That's incredible.
And it's time for you to start cashing in your coupons. It's time for you to begin redeeming what you've put there. And the way to do it is to focus on this emotional basis. We've been playing with the law of attraction cards, pointing out that when you try to affirm something wanted from a place of feeling its absence, that all you end up doing is affirming its absence in a more powerful way. You don't mean to. In other words, I want more money, I want more money, I want more money. When you want more money, just makes the absence of money more painful. And the more specific you get about why you want the money, when you really feel the absence of the money, it makes you sort of dig in a way you don't mean to. Where if you can get more general, it causes you to release your grip just a little bit, you see. That's the process that is the most leading edge and active. And now we're filling it in with more detail about this emotional basis. And as you listen and resonate and then play with it over the next few days, you're going to discover the power of it. But as humans, you don't want to call those emotions manifestations. You don't want the idea of the new car or the idea of the improved body or the idea of the lovely relationship. You don't want, for the most part, the idea to be called the manifestation. You want the car in the garage and the lover in the bed and the improvement in the body. In other words, you want proof. You want others to be able to see it. But if you can accept that the idea is the manifestation and you can revel in the fact that you are consciousness exploring variety, and that out of that variety is born desire, and that desire matters more than everything else put together, because that desire is the expansion of the universe. If you can accept that as your creation and relax into the knowing that you have done what you came to do, in the absence of resistance, it is our promise to you that the specifics of that desire will fill in around you in the most delightful dance with all of the others that you play with on your planet, as you together continue to move forward in this never-ending expansion that we are all about. So we've been talking for quite a while about this emotional scale that goes from despair and depression all the way up into ecstasy, with some of everything in between. And now we're presenting an emotional scale that is less detailed, and it goes like this: specifically negative, generally positive, specifically positive. Because we want to emphasize that if something's gone wrong and you're feeling specifically negative, because there's lots of details that have filled in that are frightening you or angering you, that your dominant intention is just to get as general as you can about it, which means talk to people less about it, or if you're talking to them, talk in more general terms, rather than saying why you hate that person and the details of all the things that they've done wrong to you. Be more general by saying things like, I'm uncomfortable with that person and I don't want to talk about why. In other words, the more general you are, the less powerful the frequency is, the less attractive the frequency is, and the easier it is to move into a generally good feeling emotion. And once you find that generally good feeling emotion, then the details will fill in. You intended, when you came into these physical bodies, to explore variety. Yes, you did. And you never asked for a feathered nest. Not one of you said, I'll go forth, but please make sure everything's just the way I would like it to be, so all I have to do is just observe my environment. Because all of you knew that you wanted variety to help you to focus your improvements into place, because you are a creator, you see. You know how you don't like it when somebody else bosses you around all the time? You don't like it because you came to explore and to come to your conclusions, because you know you have the resources of all that is backing you up to flesh it out and fill it in for your surprise and delight and satisfaction, for the details of all that you are. You knew that that was what creation is about. You didn't come to fix things that are broken. You came to create things that are new. You came to explore and discover new combinations with new juxtapositions of new experiences. You intended to give birth to desires because you are an eternal creator, and eternity and evolution and continual evolution of desire is all the same thing. You can't be eternal and stand still. And so you were born into the most extraordinary, diverse environment where new desire would be, you knew it for sure, would be inspired within you. And when that inspiration occurs, it radiates vibrationally like rockets of desire. And as that radiated desire moves forward, it becomes an actual creation. The book we wrote, entitled Ask and It Is Given, speaks to that exactly. Because when contrast causes you to ask, it becomes an immediate manifestation. If you need the manifestation first, to which you will have a positive reaction, now you're slowing it all way down. Now you've got it backwards. Manifestation always follows the vibration. The vibration is about focus. So when you get it, if we can convince you, if we can get you to make a decision, if someone said, what are your goals in life? And you would say, my goal is to feel happy in as many moments as is possible. We would say, now that you've set joy as your goal, you've got it. You've got it all figured out. But if you say, well, my goals are, by the time I'm 30, I want to have achieved this degree, and I want to be at this financial status, and I want to have this kind of relationship, and I want to have 2.5 children by that time. As you make your goals about the manifestations, and you forget about the manifestation that is the real reason that you are setting all of your goals, then you slow everything way down. But if you set emotional goals, if you decide that how you feel is what matters, now everything picks up for you really fast. We want you to get it that this world is a reality that has been focused into beingness. There is a stability about it, and it's not just this place where you all just show up while we watch from afar. We're in on this with you. This is the leading edge. People are thinking so often of this being the testing ground. While heaven is the real deal, this is the real deal. This is where all that man calls heaven and God is focused. This is the leading edge of creation. This is it. This is the leading edge of creation. And when you create something, Source is in on it, you see. Your body is a creation of Source. Everything about you is a creation of Source. All of this stuff is a creation of Source. And of course it is perceptual, but it doesn't make it any less real. So when we say, so you were source energy before you came into this physical body, you go, give us a break, Abraham. How many times do we have to listen through that again? And then we say, here's this vortex of creation, which is a vibrational state of being. And when you pay attention to the way you feel and stop doing that resistant stuff that you do as you're worrying about things, in the absence of that negative vibration, that resistant vibration, the vortex takes you in. And when the vortex takes you in, what happens is you begin then having the revelation that the vortex provides. Revelation. Now, by revelation, we mean revealed. And by revealed, we mean it becomes part of your awareness. It becomes part of your awareness. It becomes part of your reality. So the first revelation that you receive, how's that word feel to you? We're using the word revelation because we're talking about perception and perceiving. We're talking about you translating something into something that means something to you. So the first thing that is revealed to you is an emotional experience. The emotion is the revelation, the manifestation. But if you practice that vibration long enough, so you're hanging around in the vicinity of that good feeling, manifestational, emotion, revelation. Then the revelation becomes more. It becomes insight. You begin getting thoughts. You begin connecting the dots in your own mind. And then you start forming words, and then you start rendezvousing with other people who have similar understandings and are offering similar words. And then more revelations come, like data starts coming to you through articles, and you rendezvous with television programs. And when you're driving down the freeway, you see something that fits just perfectly with it. And then other manifestations start coming, like people walking into your life and saying things and handing you chunks of money and sending you off on enterprise. In other words, the manifestational experience goes from the emotion all the way into the most magnificent physical stuff that you have around you. But it is all as you perceive it to be. It's your ability to translate it that makes it so. So, what does that mean? That means, look how far consciousness has come, that billions of people are upon a planet having experienced the revelation of this planet spinning in its orbit in perfect proximity to other planets. This is big time creation. And we think that what we're doing here in this conversation is beginning to close the gap a little bit that's been out there between spiritualism and materialism for a very long time. Because here you are in these physical bodies as evidence of the way source is, and yet you want to condemn the materialism of your world. You want to be hard on yourselves for wanting the things, when everything that you are experiencing in this physical life experience is a manifestation of that which is source, you say. We've teased for a long time about the substance of this world that you are living in. In other words, this feels and sounds, pretty darn real. In other words, this is real. And to try to say, well, it's just vibration or it's just perception, sort of jerks you into an uncomfortable place. And it should jerk you into an uncomfortable place, because you have been translators of vibration long enough that you are translating things into reality. The reason that we're having this sort of animated conversation with you is because we want you to understand that if you can make the emotion the reality that you're reaching for, then all the stuff, all the hardscape, all the software, all the stuff that you want to fill in the details of the life experience that you're reaching for must come to you. You are the creator of your reality, you see. And it was supposed to be really, 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 really fun. And we think in understanding it, it becomes more fun. We're trying to guide you to, rather than having an intellectual conversation, to let it be an emotional conversation. Because until something is ringing your bells, it doesn't have much power anyway. And so much intellect is thinking about the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses. And so it's a split energy, which disempowers you because it doesn't allow the fullness of who you are to flow through you. And then you're living a diminished moment, and then you call the diminished moments reality. Yeah, and what we want you to understand is that there's a whole reality that most humans are depriving themselves of because they're missing this one point. They're not putting the vortex first. If you can just get it turned around, that the vortex work comes first and then the reality shifts to match the vortex work, then of course it is all perceptual. Perceptual meaning it's life. It's real. This stuff is perceptual. Don't try to convince anyone who's physically focused that this thing that you all are perceiving is not a reality. It is a reality. It's a reality that has come into very sharp focus. Your earth itself spinning in its orbit, this universe in which you live, this is a reality. And now we're adding to this in a way that no one has ever been speaking about before, and you're up to speed enough to get it, that we want you to understand that the source within you is experiencing this reality. Source is enjoying all of these things coming together in the fabulous, powerful way that they are. Do you get it? Once you understand that you're putting out a signal and that signal is being responded to, then it's not hard to figure things out once you begin making the correlation between your signal and what's happening. So how do you make the correlation? How do you translate this vibration into something that's meaningful? You do it in a lot of ways without even knowing you're doing it. You translate vibration, and that's why you see. But most people usually don't think of sight as a vibrational thing, but it is. Easier to hear it about your hearing, isn't it? translation of vibration. What you smell is a translation of vibration. Your touching is, you're translating, even your tongue is translating vibration. Different food has different vibration, and that's why it tastes different to you. Everything is vibrational. So when you begin to accept that this is a vibrational universe that you are translating, and that your senses translate it, and then you begin to become consciously aware of the most significant